Hi, welcome back to Srping CS170. This week we're supposed to be covering JavaScript functions, but before we get into that, just a little bit of an exercise that you can do for your own self-study and also to develop the repository of examples that you'll want to have for your exam. Okay, so this one is about this example that you can work through, which we have the code here. It's basically just working through having a gas station, right? So you go in there, get some gas, how many gallons you're going to get, what type of gas you're going to get, are you a preferred customer or not, and then you calculate your total cost, okay? So here you see the screen, you can kind of see the background, you see everything's kind of centered here. So naturally what you want to have is like a style section up at the top of the head. And you can see I've done that here. Okay, so I'm not going to actually provide this to you as something that you can use. I think it's better for you to kind of type this in yourself. And it doesn't sound as bad as you might think, right? So for example, let's say I go into here. I'm using Notepad++, but a lot of your editors that you're using will probably have the same type of capability. Like Adam, if you're on the MacBook. So let's say I do this, right? So I do background. So you see right away, you can kind of get this stuff here, right? So you don't have to type this whole thing. So generally they call stuff like this like code completion, right? So you see background color, boom, right? That's it, right? So I only type like the first couple of things and then you got something. So it shouldn't be that bad for you to type this in. I kind of did it for the earlier example. You can probably tell, right? You can see the code completion I did there, right? So you can do the similar type of thing. So just go in there and take the example I gave you earlier where you had like the country, Jersey, New Brunswick, Rutgers University. Just take that and then just go in there and stick in this style section, okay? And that's what you have here. Okay, so like I said, with the code completion and everything, you should be able to bang that out pretty quickly. Okay, and then I just changed the title here. And so if you do that, I have the browser here, and it's just pointing. You can see I created a gas station HTML. Okay, and then you can see what happened here, right? So based on the style, the background is this bisque color, and then you have centered, and you have all this stuff lined up like that, right? And that's what's going to happen when you start working your way through here. So here's your styles. There's your variables, right? So this is within the body. See the body here? And then within that, you type in your script tags, and then you put in your variables there. And once you do that, that means it's available no matter where you are in the code, right? So that's good. And then you start creating the page. So here, you're going to create the radio buttons, right? So it kind of gives you the code here for the radio buttons. Okay, kind of see more of that. Right, and then you remember your button here, right? So you calculate total here. You're going to calculate your total cost, right? And you're going to refer to those variables that are up here. Okay, so remember what we did in the JavaScript examples from last week in terms of a text box, right? So you have your text box here, you have your button, you have your radio buttons, you have two sets of radio buttons actually, right? And then you can calculate your total cost, okay? So I'm gonna leave this with you. Hopefully you can type this in and then fill in the remaining parts with the text boxes and the logic that basically you hit the calculate total, you'll collect all this information, and then you'll display the total cost, right? Remember from last week, this would be a text box that's read only, and that would show your total value, okay? Tricky things in here is make sure you declare things and set things as numbers, and you do calculations on them as numbers. If you mix them together, you're going to get all kinds of bad results. So I'll leave that with you. You can kind of send me emails if you have some troubles with these things. And I'm going to leave this as your extra credit. Okay, so work on this for your extra credit, and let's see what you come back with. But I think if you actually work your way through all of this in terms of being able to set up a radio box, set up a text box, use the button, display it into a read-only text box, and be able to work with the variables, set the variables, numbers, strings, being able to add them or multiply them and come up with this. That's a pretty rich set of examples that you can use for your notes when you get ready for your exam on JavaScript. Okay, so I'll leave this with you. Thank you.